Hey, what's up, man? Hopefully you're doing amazing. Welcome in today's video. In today's video, we are going to dive into how to tap into deep focus at will. It's a very, very interesting topic if you want to build very, very big things, right? Because flow state is something all the big CEOs, and not only CEOs, but also, athletes use in order to do great things, right? So I'm going to explain how to tap into that flow state, into that deep focus at will in this video. So make sure to really watch this till the end. Make sure to take notes if that helps you, because it will help you a lot. I'm 100% confident in saying that. So first of all, what is flow state? Actually, for the ones who don't know what flow state is. Well, flow state is actually a state in where work feels effortless. So you are really in the zone. For example, you've been building back-to-back deals or crushing back-to-back deals or building killer campaigns. And when you are working, the time flies by. You're not even realizing how fast the hours are. You are really, really deep focused, and actually difficult work, or maybe a lot of important tasks that you have to do, or one specific important task that you have to do, feels really, really effortless. That's the state of mind that you're in when you are in the flow state. Also, it's important to understand that it's actually a muscle that can be trained. I will dive into that later. So, for example, if your deep focus state now is at a capacity of an hour, for example, then you can train it to 2 hours or even 3 hours, right? So that's important to understand, because also in flow state, again, this could be for athletes, but for us entrepreneurs as well. In this kind of state, we build big things, right? We push the needle of our business forward very fast, very efficiently. So therefore, it's really important to get into that flow state, not by accident, or not someday and next week you cannot tap into that flow state for some reason, but to actually know and understand how to tap into flow state at will. So every single day, right? How amazing would that be? Well, so freaking amazing that I'm making a video about this now. So that's really flow state. If you not understand it, please hit me up. So I'm going to dive into very, very simple steps how to get into flow state, right? So let's start with the first step. The first step is actually very, very, very typical. So you have to remove distractions. It's a very typical thing if you want to, or strategy if you want to dive into focus. And it's very typical for a reason, because it works and it's quite literally essential. If your workspace, for example, is really cluttered, so it's a fucking mess, let's say, then it may be not a stress factor for your conscious mind, but for your subconscious mind, it is. And you have to remember that. So sometimes I have clients and they have a pretty messy workspace, but they say, Ray, I don't really feel the negatives about that, but really you truly feel it if you remove those distractions, right? Because it's a stress factor for your subconscious mind, and it will hold you back from tapping into that flow state as fast as possible, but also to stay into that flow state as fast as possible. Excuse me. So distractions is really a productivity killer. Very, very crucial, very, very typical again. Also, a clean, organized workspace is a clear mind, and that's something that is really essential if you want to tap into flow state. Now, let's be honest. Not only your workspace, or for example, your desk is something that you should take into consideration from removing all the clutter, but also your phone. Your phone is the number one distractions for almost all people. So your phone is really your enemy if you want to get into flow state and to have that deep focus. So before you go on your phone, let's say you wake up, and before you go on your phone, make sure to first finish some deep work. Make sure to first tap into that flow state, because it will be easier to do that first than when you first went on your phone and then went or tried to tap into flow state. So there's a rule: the first 2 to 3 hours you have to work before touching your phone. That's very, very important. And you can actually use very simple hacks or apps that will allow you to have a system in place so you don't go on, for example, TikTok or Instagram Reels if you have to work, right? So these apps are an app called AppBlock and OneSec. So make sure to use both of these apps. I will not get into these in this video on how to install that, etc. It really all speaks for itself. But what it does, to explain shortly, make sure to download it right now, is it will, with AppBlock, you will block certain apps in a specific time frame. So for example, your first work session, let's say from 7 to 10, for example, then you can block Instagram or specific apps, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, whatsoever. You can block these apps in a specific time frame, and you cannot remove that blockade, right? And that makes it very powerful. So you cannot go on your phone, and you cannot get distracted by your phone, because sometimes our willpower is a bit less, and then we think, all right, let's quickly check these notifications on Instagram or my likes because I did a very cool post yesterday, right? So don't do that. Please make sure to tap into flow state first before going on your phone, and you can use an app called AppBlock. You also have Opal. You have lots of apps to make sure you leverage this the most efficient way. You're not relying on willpower, and also make sure to use OneSec. And OneSec, what it really does, to explain quickly, when you go on your phone, for example, on Snapchat or Instagram, a screen will pop up with take a deep breath and really think twice about what you're going to do now on your phone. And for example, on Instagram, are you going to scroll on Reels, or what are you going to do, right? And this makes you very, very conscious of the fact how impulsive you are with your distractions, and in this case, your phone. So, and also to at the time itself, when you are seeing that screen and it says to you, take a deep breath, it also helps you to put your phone down, right? So it has a lot of benefits also for the long term, to be actually conscious about the fact how reactive you may be, or how addicted you may be to your phone. So to keep a very long story short, make sure to do these steps and make sure to remove distractions. That's the first step. Now let's go to the second step. Step 2, understand your peak hours. What do I mean with understand your peak hours? We as humans all have peak hours throughout the day when it comes to our focus, our ability to focus, and our energy. And this all has to do with our circadian rhythm. I'm not going to explain what exactly your circadian rhythm is. I have a lot of videos about it in the sleep module. But because of our circadian rhythm, we as humans have peak hours. Why is it so important to understand that? Well, it's very easy, and it will be more easier to tap into flow state in those peak hours, in the hours where you already naturally are most alert and most focused and most energized. And for most people, this is in the morning. For me included, this in the morning. It's not for all people, but for most people again. So therefore, leverage your morning energy, dive into high priority task, work early in the day for most people. So how can you find this out? Well, first you should ask yourself the questions, or the question, when am I most alert and most focused naturally, without any modern equipment like going on your phone or going on your laptop or watching Netflix till 3 at night. Then of course in the morning you will not be focused, but without all the distractions, all the modern equipment, naturally, when are you most focused? That's the question you should ask yourself. And for most people, that's in the morning. The second way how you can understand it and how you can discover it for yourself is to understand and know your chronotype. This is also a very, very interesting topic. I will not go into that very deep in this video, but also by finding out what your chronotype is, you can also understand what your peak hours are. So I will leave a link in the descriptions for the chronotype test. Okay, so this is step 2, understand your peak hours, because in those peak hours, it's very easy to tap into that flow state so you can do your most and high priority tasks. Step 3, create conditions that drives focus. This is very, very important for flow state, and be into flow state for a very long, or for as long as possible. So the first thing is you should have clear objectives, right? Specific goals equals sharp focus. If your goals are not specific, you don't know where to focus on. For example, a bad example of this is to just fix my funnel, right? It's very all over the place, or with other words, it's not very specific, and therefore you will not have the sharp focus you need. So a good example of this is to increase opt-in page by 15%. Make sure your objectives are very clear. Also, make sure to use real-time feedback. Also, therefore, small wins, your brain will release dopamine, and therefore you will get into momentum. So use real-time feedback when you are doing your tasks, all right? Research shows that you should perform tasks that are about 4% more difficult than your current skill level. Really don't ask me how they come up with that 4%, but you should do tasks that are a bit out of your comfort zone and your current skill level, right? Also, for example, with the real-time feedback, for me, I have to create content. I am making scripts and I should read out loud for myself. You know, does this sound smoothly? Does this sound how I wanted to sound it when I'm speaking to the camera? And based on that, I can adjust it, right? That's just a very simple example, but you should use real-time feedback, have clear objectives, and you have to push yourself. So perform tasks that are outside of your comfort zone. So step 4 is go with the natural rhythm of flow. Now, it's very, very important to understand that this state, this flow state, this deep focus is not something that you can just do. It simply occurs under the right conditions. And that's the same with sleep. It's something I will always say also with sleep. That's not something you just do. It's occurring under the right conditions. So you have to follow you have to actually understand a 4-phase cycle of flow state. So first, the first part is you have the struggle phase. This is a phase of 5 to maybe 10, for some people even 15, maybe depending on the task, minutes long, where you will actually struggle to focus, right? You are getting distracted fast. You want to actively distract yourself from doing the task that you should be doing. So this could be going on your phone, doing some chores at home, eating, but this also could mean is that you are going to do another task that is not that important, but you want to distract yourself from it, right? It's very important to understand that you have a struggle phase and that it takes time for your brain to fully lock into that thing you want to focus on. If you don't understand this, you will be in this phase for a very long time, and actually time and time again. So when you want to focus on a certain task, here comes the struggle phase again, and you think it will be that way all the way when you are doing that task, right? Hopefully you understand me. And therefore, a lot of people, they feel very unproductive. They are very unproductive because they don't understand that by just pushing through that phase for long enough, they will tap into that flow state. That's very important to understand. I'm not going to curse in this video. The second phase is the breakthrough, right? Then your brain will release dopamine. Then you're really in the zone. Now you're tapped in. Third phase is deep focus. You crush it like a boss. You are really in that state, and you should be in this state for as long as possible, because we as humans, we cannot stay in this state for, like, for example, 7 hours straight. We simply cannot. So therefore, the fourth phase is very important, to have a recovery phase where you recover and recharge for your next focus block, for example. So again, as I said in the beginning of the video, it's a muscle that you can train. You can actually see it just like when you are running for the first time, you will run for 5 minutes and you're already out of breath. But if you do it over and over again, now you can run for an hour and you're not even out of breath. It's the same with flow state. You have to understand that. So if your maximum capacity right now is, for example, 30 minutes, then you can train it to an hour. Then you can train it to 2 hours that you are in the deep focus state, right? Why is this important to understand? Because therefore, these productivity hacks like Pomodoro technique are a lot of the time. So for example, in this time, or in this way, it's a distraction, right? It's not a thing that will help you to be more productive, but it's a distraction, because when you are in that flow state, when you're in a deep focus state with Pomodoro technique, you will actively break that state just in order to do it again after the break, like for 5 minutes, for example. So therefore, I don't believe in Pomodoro technique, not overall, but for if you want to tap into that deep focus state, right? So again, it's a muscle that can be trained. So train it to grow stronger over time. Now, your action plan, to sum this all up, to keep it all structured and organized: no phone first thing in the morning or first thing in your day, and you can use app lock or 1 second to stay off it. So you have a system in place, right? You're not depending on your willpower. Start strong, attack your top tasks as soon as possible after waking up. Excuse me. Therefore, I don't believe in very, very long morning routines, but that's another story. Attack your top priority tasks as soon as possible. Set clear goals. Know exactly what you have to achieve. Use real-time feedback. Push through resistance. So really the magic happens after the struggle phase. So understand these cycles that I just explained. And the last step is to recover and to recharge, to maintain long-term focus. Sometimes my pronouncing of different English words, I find it difficult. So therefore, it's not the smoothest, but now you know. It's a very, very important video. I'm happy I've made this video. I think I will help a lot of people out with this. If you got any questions, please ask me or ask the community, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.